Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the law of attraction, manifesting success stories show comes in. If you are ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to this episode. I am back with Anita for interview number 7 in her Years of Growth series. Welcome, Anita.
Thank you.
Tell us, how has your future self been showing up?
She has been showing up trusting.
That's awesome.
Yes.
What has that been helping you create, or how has that made life more awesome recently?
Well, as you know, I've been going through a pretty big moving transition for like the last 6+ months. And I've taken it very gracefully.
That's awesome.
For like the majority of the time. I
Yeah.
have my little moments, but it's nothing like it would have been prior to focusing on manifesting as much as I have.
Yay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Just to make everyone else happy too. Even though they might not know, right?
Oh, that's true. Yes.
I love it. Very cool. Well, it has been, so last month, so it is July 13th, 2020, and when we're recording this, and last month was your year anniversary, your year enchantiversary, as like I like to call it.
Yes.
So I want to celebrate that and talk a little bit about, what do you think is the biggest difference than a year ago?
Definitely my mental state is the biggest difference. And that just goes into all areas of my life,
Mm-hmm.
you know, work, relationships, my relationship with myself, what I'm accomplishing, how I'm accomplishing those things. So I just feel more grounded.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How is
And
it?
knowing.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. How is that? You said like your relationship with yourself. How has your relationship with yourself improved or changed?
I don't talk negatively to myself anymore.
That's awesome.
And if it does come up in little brief moments, I shut it down pretty quickly with positivity.
Yay. That makes a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. What's the most, I know you have a couple of these. What are the most surprising things that have happened in the last year?
Well, one is that I got engaged. And
Yay!
that was surprising. And I got the exact ring that I wanted.
Awesome.
Yeah, Mike had a good idea of what to get, and I got exactly that. It was awesome.
Yay.
Yes. And the other thing is that we have a private pool, which I found was on my manifesting vision board. So that was really interesting. I don't remember putting it on the vision board, and I just recently found it during the move, and then realizing we had a pool party yesterday at our new house. It's just awesome.
That is awesome. It literally
Yeah.
said private pool on your vision board, right?
It did, yes. Like I cut out the words private pool, and then there was this glorious pool.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
So fun. And were you surprised because you didn't think you wanted it, or were you just surprised like, oh, I asked for this and now it's here?
I was surprised because it seemed like such a distant desire.
Uh-huh.
Like, oh, this isn't happening now, but maybe like in 15 years, we'll have this beautiful pool. You know, like
yes.
Maybe if things keep going really well.
Yes.
You know, and I make more money, then it'll happen. But it's here now. So that was just mind blowing.
Yeah, that I love. Yes, because I love, and I think that's the perfect. I don't think metaphor is the right word, but like that is how I feel like you came in a lot. Like everything in your mind when you started like Manifest 10K and in the Enchanted Circle, it was like everything was so far out and I have to work so hard for it. And maybe someday, and someday I'll get there. And what's happened over and over again, including this private pool, which I want to say to listeners, it wasn't like they clicked a box in looking for houses and said, we want a pool. The pool showed up in the exact, as you described it last time, like how many square miles or blocks in this little space that you wanted to live. It showed up like in that house that was in that perfect place.
Yeah, it's probably 6 streets in this little neighborhood. And you know how vast Denver and the surrounding areas are. I mean, there's so many places to live, and I just wanted to live in this little square. And Mike and my realtor were just like so annoyed with me because every time they'd send me houses anywhere else, I was like, meh, it's okay. And I was just so dead set on either being here or there was one other square that I found that I would have been very happy with. But this was the first one that I fell in love with. And we just found this house one night. We're sitting on the couch and watching TV. I'm scrolling through houses, and we'd already been in that neighborhood earlier that day. And I told Mike, oh, this house just popped up. It's in the neighborhood. And I'm like flipping through the pictures. I'm like, and it has a pool. He was like, put a bid on it immediately. Because he grew up with a pool in Southern California. And like his fondest memories are him and his brothers and his family in that pool. Mm-hmm. So he was so excited. And I didn't even know that I wanted this. But apparently I'd already put it on the vision board.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. And
it wasn't on my radar.
Yeah. And I love, it wasn't, I mean, we've stated this, but I think for the audience, we can't kind of state this too much. I think it was more of like, I didn't want it, or I didn't know like I could want it right now. It's like a sneaky little, yeah, I really want that, but I'm not going to say it out loud type of a thing is what a lot of people do. Absolutely.
It was like, I want this, but I don't think I can have it right now.
Yeah. Yay. How did like seeing that on your vision? I mean, you were already excited about the pool, but how did seeing it on your vision board just sort of, what did that open up, or what does that make you believe in more?
It makes me believe in just the power of intention so much more. And even if it's just a brief intention, if it's somewhere concrete, like written down or in picture form, that does something.
Yes. It does. It does something. And for those of you listening, like the something is that you're owning that, like you're owning your intention. Like, yes, I really do want this. Like, yep, here it is. Even if it's just like little sliding in kind of, I'm just going to put it like one little statement on a vision board, you're totally owning it.
Exactly.
So what are you excited about in your next year?
I'm excited. I'm excited for being settled in a home and making this new house our home. Yeah. And I'm excited for the awesome tenant that I'm going to have living in my current house.
Yes. Yes. That is awesome. Oh, I even forgot to write down that story. So I don't think we told this last time because it happened in the middle, but let's talk about, this is the perfect time. You know, you were sort of in this situation where you were, I was going to say, making a pro and con list about like, do I sell my house, and trying to figure that out, right?
Yes.
And it was actually tapping into your future self where you got the answer, right?
Yes, it was. So I was really having an internal battle about whether I sell whether I keep this house that I'm in and just the financial burden. I probably shouldn't use the word.
You can delete it, and you can give a real life example. Delete and like tell us the new story.
The financial responsibility.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Of having now 3 mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was pretty stressed about that. And then this pandemic was happening and is happening. And all these people are saying, get rid of everything. The market's going to crash, you know? So that's a little scary to hear people say. But then there's a whole other version of people saying, don't listen. Hang on.
Yeah.
Ride the storm out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just went back and forth from one thought process to the other. And I was feeling very unsettled about what I was going to choose to do. But per your coaching, I was tapping into my future self and saying, what does my future self do about this situation? You know, regardless of what's going on in the outside world. And the answer that came to me was, well, she owns multiple properties. And how do you own multiple properties? Well, you probably keep the ones that you have. So, yeah, that answer came to me. And although it's not completely free of some pressures, it seems like a clear path to my future self.
Yes, I love that. And that through line of like, I got this info for my future self, I have found always helps in those moments where it does matter, but it doesn't matter like what happens with the market, right? Because you always come back to like, no, this is who she is, right? And then you'll start to see examples. Like I'm one, like, I know when the market did go down, but like I got more rent, like, and I've met other real estate investors, and you'll start to gather the evidence that's like, oh yeah, this is my future self. This is right. You know, because you made it from such a clear, not like I'm going to go with this person's advice or this person's advice, but no, like this is what my future self does.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It felt so much better the moment I tapped into that.
Yay. I know. I remember like seeing it, like the answer came. It was awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, it was like probably a few weeks of just going from one to the other. Like every few days I'd be on the other side of the spectrum.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was nice to finally settle that argument.
Yes. I love it. Oh, your future self is so powerful.
Yes.
Yeah. Cause she knows where you're going. Right. And
yes.
Yeah, that's what matters.
So the next step is to intend awesome tenants. Or maybe just one awesome tenant.
Yeah, right? Just single, super easy. I love it. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I
want
see
to
it.
stay forever.
Yeah.
They take great care of the place. Yep. They love gardening. So they take care of the flowers.
I love it. I'll give you evidence right now. I was just telling my partner the other day, we were just talking about my mom's investment properties, and I don't even remember why this one house. Oh, because it was where my sister and I lived when we first moved out. And I said, oh, this woman has been there since we moved out close to 20 years ago. Like she's just been there, and she pays her rent. And my dad and I had a conversation about how there was only like $40,000 left on the mortgage.
Wow.
Yeah. And so just like, and I was like, yeah. And my dad he was telling me about all his spreadsheets, and there's only this much left on this house and this much. And yeah. And so there's just some great evidence that like, yep, this is awesome. You can find the one person who stays forever.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that.
So yay. I'm excited for you.
Me too.
I love it. And so I always like to, just because we're tapped in and we are manifesting doesn't mean sometimes things don't quote unquote go wrong, which is what happened a couple weeks ago. So you guys are living in the house that you're now going to keep, and you're like having updates done to your new house, right?
Yes.
And you walked in, and tell us about the floors.
Okay. Well, we spent a pretty penny on new wood floors, and we walked in, and of course we're on this timeline to move out of here and move into the new house. And they're like, okay, great, the floors are done. We come to the house, look at the floors, and they are just horrendous. They did an awful job. Like, the floor was laid well, but whatever they used for the staining and the ceiling was just splotchy. It was like somebody had gone over with like a paint roller, like over the same spots and then not on some other spots, drips everywhere. It was bad. So I was pretty bummed out, and not like insanely upset like I would have been probably years ago. I probably would have cried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it, because they're supposed to be beautiful and they're brand new, and there's nothing better than a beautifully like new finished, whether it's newly installed or just like refinished wood floor.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, we just put in this beautiful floor and they ruined it. So Mike was even thinking like, oh, well, we have to move in. So, maybe we'll just deal with it. And like, we'll get used to it. And I was like, oh, I really don't like that idea. I feel like we're going to hate them forever. And I don't want to live like that. So we were kind of trying to gather the courage to call our contractor and say, hey, we don't like this. But we didn't really know what the solution was either.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on a call with the group and brought the question to you, and you said, well, first of all, don't tell this story anymore about how they ruined your floors. I feel like I can tell it now because we're past it. But
yes, you can always tell it when you're past it.
Okay. And you said, just focus on what you want, which is beautiful floors. So I did that. And within 30 minutes, our contractor had called us back and was like, I hate the floors. I hate what my guys did. I'm very sorry. And we're going to fix it right now. And within 2 days, it's fixed. And they look great.
Yay. And you walk in and you have that feeling that you wanted?
Yes.
How did it feel for that to be so easy? Because you didn't even have to call and tell him.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was so nice. I was just like, oh, good.
Right? Like, oh, taken care of. Yeah. What's the biggest thing you learned from that experience?
I learned, just a reminder of how powerful the stories we tell are.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think me and probably lots of people have the initial reaction to want to complain and tell all their friends about it.
Yes, like how bad, can you believe this? Like,
yeah. Listen to what I'm struggling with. And so to hear you say, like, definitely don't do that. And luckily I really hadn't before talking to you.
Yeah.
That was a really awesome reminder. And then just focusing on what you do want. Obviously, It just applies to everything. It's like, what do you want? What does your future self want?
Yes. I love it. She wants to walk.
It's not about what's happening right now.
Right. It's about how she walks on her beautiful floors through the house to her beautiful pool.
Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. Any other awesome things that you want to share?
Well, one other huge thing that happened over the past year is I got control over my skin. And I've had this like acne and like compulsive picking disorder, which I haven't really talked about, but I'll just say it.
That's awesome. I love when we own it.
Yeah, that's gone on my entire life. It's caused me a lot of heartache and frustration. And every year I would say, like, this is the year that's finally going to change. This is the year that's finally going to change. Well, it wouldn't. And then this last year, since I've joined the Enchanted Circle, it has changed, and it came about through some interesting inspiration that just
Mhm.
basically walked up to me and told me, like, hey, go do this. This is what I did. Here's the dermatologist to go see. I went and saw him. He said, hey, will you give me this medication, please? And he said, yes, of course.
Oh, that's amazing.
And we're like 2 months to go on the medication, and my skin has completely changed. The picking disorder is gone.
Yay.
It's just completely different.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit before, like it was before in the past, I think you've been like, oh, I'm going to go find the solution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like when you mean they walked up and talked to you, it was like literally just a friend mentioned it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One friend mentioned it because we were like flying together, and she's like, oh, my lips are so dry, like things
Yeah.
like that. Like, oh,
Yeah.
what's going on? She
Yeah.
tells me she's on this medication, and probably like a month later, another friend tells me, oh, I'm on this medication. And like, okay, well, this seems to be a theme. I think I'm going to go see about this.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Oh, I'm so happy. And we were talking a little bit before too. It's like because your life gets to be easy and fun. And so all the answers that the things that because I can't remember the way you said it, but it's been like a lifelong struggle, like you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
It like everything else gets to be easy too. When we start allowing our life to be easy, everything else has to start to get easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah. And there's been just a lot of change this past year that shows me every day like anything is possible.
yay.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So I'm sure we're probably running out of time, but I'll share one more. And that
Yeah,
is
go
that
for
I
it.
quit drinking
Yeah.
4.5 months ago. And I'd kind of been considering that for a while. And that was also just inspiration that came out of nowhere, that I never realized I would do this or thought I
Mhm.
could do this, but it's happening and it's awesome. And that's having a slew of amazing side effects. So that's great.
Yay, that is great. I know. I remember that's funny, like the power of intention, right? I had thought like a couple weeks ago, I don't know, I was like, oh, I hope one day like Anita shares that. Like we haven't just it's no big deal. It just hasn't come up in an interview, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, actually what I think it was is I just had this thought like, oh, I wonder how the not drinking is going. And on the next call, you're like, and it's been like 90 days or 120 days, and it was like, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And it was because I always know when it's inspiration, but you just kind of like drinking had not been I wouldn't say a negative part. I don't know, you can correct me, but like it was just part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day you came and you're like, you know what? I decided to stop drinking. And I was like, oh, that's totally inspired because it just came kind of out of nowhere, but like maybe out of somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like, it happened very organically and easily.
Yes.
And I had like many negative things that happened from drinking in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But over the years, it had gotten better, and I was making less stupid mistakes. But but it was still, every once in a while, I'll have a little too much, get in an argument with Mike or just do something stupid, and
mm-hmm.
just wasn't serving me anymore. So
I love that.
yeah.
And that's a lot of why it's easy, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it was just came to this point of this natural evolution of like, this isn't serving me, like I'm not going to do it. And do you
Mm-hmm.
think that made it easier to kind of go through? Because I know you had a little, not like a lot, but like, oh, will I be able to fit in? Like, will I fit in a little bit when I'm not
Mm-hmm.
drinking and everyone else is drinking, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fear I think that a lot of people have
Yeah.
about not drinking, is like, I can't be social.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be fun.
Right.
People will think I'm lame.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's, I think every new new sober experience I have where I'm like, at a friend's house for dinner and I don't drink, or I go to a bar and don't drink, or I go to a restaurant, don't drink, or we have a pool party and I don't drink. Like each one has like a little bit of, oh, how is this going to be? And then it passes and it's like, oh, I was still my normal self and I wasn't repetitive or loud or like peeing every 30 minutes. And didn't wake up with a hangover.
Yeah.
Didn't crash at 4 p.m. because I was day drinking.
Oh, I love it. And I most of all love that it feels good, right? Like
Yeah.
you did it because it would feel good, and it continues to, like, even though you go through the evolution of how is this going to work, like it continues to feel good, and you continue to get evidence of like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yay. That's awesome.
So definitely last year, never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that that would be the case. There were times where I could go, there was once, actually, just once in my life that I did a 30-day, like, no drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a struggle.
Yeah.
Like every day I was thinking about it. And now like 4.5 months have gone by and I'm, it's barely a thing.
Yay. How does that feel?
So good.
Yeah.
It just feels easy and right.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And I don't want to say I'll never drink again because I don't like to put hard limits on myself. But for now, it feels great.
Yes, that is the best. Like, I think that is the ultimate LOA statement that you just made, right? Like hard limits don't generally serve us in an LOA way because we're like resisting, like, oh, never, like there's sort of this resistance. I can't ever. But when we do what feels good in the moment and we do it feels good in the next moment and the next moment, it all feels better. Like even if you go back to drinking, I can totally see the story. I know the story will be like, oh yeah, I had like one drink and I really enjoyed it and I loved it and it was a super good drink and that was it. And I still had just as much fun as when I didn't have a drink,
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see that too.
Yeah. And it's all, if it feels good, great. And if it doesn't, like, then you just keep going every day really with what feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Yay. I'm so excited for you.
This year has been like just transformative. It really has.
That's amazing.
In so many ways.
Yeah. So good. I'm so excited for you. What are you excited about? You told us like being in the house and being settled. Anything else that you're like, I'm going to be sharing this in an interview in a year?
I think I'll be sharing that I will have another income.
Yes.
An additional income.
Yes. I love that. Yep.
Yes.
I totally see that. Very cool.
I'm not gonna how it.
Yay. You're getting really good at that.
Yeah. I'm working on it still, but I'm getting better.
Good. I love it. Awesome. Any other words of inspiration or anything you want to make sure we share today? Thank you so much for sharing about the drinking because that was so inspired and I love that story.
Of course. No, I think that's it. I feel like we covered a lot.
We did. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. Well, thank you, Anita, for sharing this very powerful, amazing, inspiring moment in your journey with us.
Thank you.
Yes. And thank you all for listening. Make sure to come back and check out what's awesome next time in Anita's life.
Thank you for joining us on the Law of Attraction Manifesting Success Stories show. To learn how to attract more money into your life, go to your favorite book retailer and order Cassie's book, Manifest $10,000.